up, Taiwan? I'm Joyce coming to you from Taipei with the latest news. Taiwan's public sector workers are demanding higher wages. Labor unions are making their voices heard, even demonstrating in front of Taiwan's executive building. Chris Gorin reports.
Government workers need higher salaries. That's the message from a group of unions representing civil servants from the railways to the zoos that have gathered in front of the cabinet building to demand change. The unions here say that while the government has made it a goal to improve pay for low-wage workers, defined as those making about $950 per month or less, starting salaries for government workers are barely above that.
这样每个月开销至少7万以上。请问你要员工要怎么生小孩，要怎么买房子？连国家基本的国营事业的员工和公务员都是这种低薪的时候，这个国家会有进步吗？
These workers are also upset that the heads of their agencies and companies are, as they see it, giving themselves raises while worker pay stagnates.
像我已经年资30年的哈，我的薪水啊才落在3万7、3万8哦，根本就不到4万块，然后也没办法养家活口。晚上我都还要去兼差去打工哦，因为现在物价高涨哦，房屋也是高涨，要买一个房子真的是根本就买不起哈。
With a rising cost of living and a shrinking population, these unions are working to make low wages a top priority of the government. Andy Shrey and Chris Gorin for TaiwanPlus.
A Taiwanese journalist has accused suspended Taiwan People's Party chair Ko Wen-je of sexual harassment.
当然没有，我就说，那个柯主席这样子在新闻部的会议室对我摸我的手，对我进行性骚扰，我们都给了他具体的时间空间给他道歉，给他道歉就好了。对他必须要珍惜，所以我不知道他懂不懂得珍惜。
Ke is currently in detention for suspected corruption during his time as Taipei mayor. He's being held incommunicado and is not able to comment on the harassment accusations. Ke took leave from his role as the head of the Taiwan People's Party earlier this year. Educators in Taiwan are airing their concerns about the country's bilingual nation policy. The Education Ministry recently announced improvements to the policy, but teachers say there's still not enough to give students a fair education. Tiffany Wong reports.
The National Federation of Teachers Unions is calling for more changes to Taiwan's bilingual education policy, saying that it's made mixed progress over the past 6 years and that's even negatively impacted students' education. Their biggest concern is a requirement known as English as a Medium of Instruction, or EMI, that requires students to take some subjects in English, which they say could actually hinder their understanding of the topics.
曾经出现中文系的教授 要用英文来教授中文教授这个专业的语文的一个课程，这样的一个非常荒谬的一个现象。那透过这样的一个课程，让学生不止没有学到该有的专业，还影响原本的一个学习。那时间一过，对于整体学生的一个学习表现，我想是一个很大的一个伤害。
Earlier this week, the Ministry of Education announced improvements to the bilingual policy, promising to offer more opportunities to speak English outside of the classroom and promoting new technologies to assist with language learning. It also adjusted lessons so only English language classes would be taught in English. But this change only applies to primary and secondary schools, not in higher education. Some students still have concerns about the policy.
我们认为全英文授课，它其实会让那些听不懂 英文的学生造成他们对于英文的恐惧，或者是说他会丧失对于语言学习的一个兴趣。那如果学生他完全丧失了对于语言学习的兴趣，他基本上他就是会选择摆烂。
The policy aims to make Taiwan into a bilingual nation by 2030, to make the country's talent more competitive and attract international companies to Taiwan. The educators here say that that's made English language education in Taiwan more competitive, adding pressure on students, parents, and educators to spend time and money on a language that's still not widely used in the country today. Eason Chen and Tiffany Wong in Taipei for TaiwanPlus.
Torrential rains have flooded Taiwan's northeast coast, overwhelming businesses and cutting transportation links. John Van Trieste reports.
When these diners sat down at this popular restaurant in Elon County, the floor was damp from the rain outside. But halfway through their meal, floodwaters had reached up to their ankles. Not everyone is so cheerful about the torrential rain that's hit the northeast coast, the result of seasonal monsoon winds combined with distant tropical storm Taraji. Cars and scooters were left submerged. Shop owners that had sandbags on hand rushed to protect their businesses from the rising waters. And safety concerns forced this school to shut early.
因为雨大的影响，提早大概45分钟。最主要是因为现在天也暗，好，然后雨又这么大，怕家长们等一下的接送不方便。
While the East Coast's only rail link was left impassable.
下午2点32分有通报，就是因为水淹过轨面，所以双线不通。目前都在前后端的车站在等待水退之后就会恢复通行。
Less than a kilometer of track was flooded, but that was enough to leave passengers stranded.
不知道啊，那怎么办？因为乌塔说改搭别的交通工具，可是往花莲没有别的交通工具啊。
By 4 p.m., over 300 millimeters of rain had fallen on the region. And though the downpours have eased up, occasional rain is still in the forecast until late Wednesday, leaving a big wet mess to clean up. Chris Ma and John Van Trieste for TaiwanPlus.
Authorities expect to begin emptying oil from a Chinese ship stranded off the coast of northern Taiwan on Thursday. The operation to remove 290 tons of oil is expected to take up to 2 weeks. The Chinese cargo ship ran aground when Typhoon Kongray hit Taiwan 2 weeks ago. All of the crew members were safely evacuated. Rough weather conditions prevented work crews from starting the pumping operation earlier. Taiwan is still taking an asymmetric approach to its defense, pushing for smaller, more mobile weapons, according to the country's defense minister. Wellington Koo was responding to an article from the Financial Times that says Taiwan is interested in a $15 billion arms sale from the U.S., including F-35 fighter jets. These systems are among the most expensive in the world. The report prompted concern over how Taiwan is spending its defense budget. The defense minister also said that Taiwan is prioritizing the military's combat resilience to make sure the country has enough weapons in its armory. For more on the F-35 and whether or not it could boost Taiwan's defense, Jaime Ocon spoke to David Sachs, a research fellow with the Council on Foreign Relations based in New York.
David, I want to first start off with this F-35, U.S.-made, world's most advanced fighter jet that Taiwan is looking to procure, according to this report from the Financial Times. Is this a system that Taiwan needs?
Well, to be blunt, the F-35 is not what Taiwan needs. It's in the midst of upgrading its F-16 fleet right now, which will give it a highly capable aircraft. But I think regardless of where you stand on F-16 versus F-35 and where the Taiwan Air Force should be, most observers who look at this don't think that Taiwan's limited resources should go there. These play a limited role in the gray zone in meeting the challenges from the PLA Air Force and the Air Defense Identification Zone. But once the balloon goes up and a war starts, very few, if any, analysts believe that this war will be decided in the air and in the skies above and around Taiwan. So if you're looking at the F-35, it's an incredibly expensive platform. It's an exquisite high-end platform. And you have to ask yourself whether or not those resources are much better spent on missiles, mines, drones, and frankly, civil defense efforts as well. And I think the answer resoundingly is yes.
One of the reasons for Taiwan looking to spend so big on this arms sale, according to this report, is that it wants to prove to the next administration that it is serious about its defense. What do you make of that reasoning?
And here I would say two things. Number one, clearly Taiwan has read what President-elect Trump has said about Taiwan. And that is that Taiwan doesn't give us anything. The United States is no different than an insurance company, and essentially Taiwan should pay the United States for defense, whatever that means. And so Taiwan and the national security establishment on the island could interpret that as meaning, well, if there are large arms sales to Taiwan, $10, $15 billion plus, maybe that's what Trump wants and what he means when he says pay the United States for defense. And so maybe leaders in Taipei believe that that is a down payment on American support and American defense. The second thing that I would say is that I think that there's also a view in Taiwan that basically if you're a tier A ally of the United States, you get F-35s. And if you don't get F-35s, you're in a tier below. So Taiwan looks at Israel with F-35s. It looks at NATO partners with F-35s. And some in Taiwan say, well, why don't we have that as well? Because we should be considered in that tier of U.S. allies and partners. And so I think that that's also driving it.
That was David Sachs, a research fellow at the Council on Foreign Relations. U.S. President-elect Donald Trump has reportedly tapped billionaire Elon Musk and former Republican presidential candidate Vivek Ramaswamy to head up the newly created Department of Government Efficiency. Both men are well-known Trump supporters from the private sector. Musk posted on X saying they will do away with bureaucracy and slash excess government spending. During Trump's campaign, Musk made numerous public appearances with Trump and gave over $100 million to his presidential campaign. Trump also appointed known China hawk Mike Waltz as the national security advisor. Taipei's delegation to this year's Apec summit is hoping to drive home the importance of Taiwanese tech on the global stage, while maintaining connections with the event's host. Reese Ayers reports from Peru.
Taiwanese tech can help solve global issues. A message being broadcast around Lima during this year's Apec summit, with Taiwan taking out ad space on billboards across the Peruvian capital, as business leaders and officials head to Peru for the annual economic forum. Leading Taiwan's delegation is Lin Xin-yi, former economy minister, who's emphasized the range of areas Taiwan's tech can be used.
当然，这当中数位医疗、农业以及中小企业是我们台湾的强项。
Taiwan produces around 90% of the world's most advanced semiconductors, powering much of the planet's AI and computer systems. It's that tech, the delegation reminds, that makes Taiwan an indispensable part of the global community.
强调的是也是呼应今年秘鲁年会的主题“赋权、包容跟成长”，也就是说，台湾用一颗晶片来驱动世界的繁荣动力。
Taiwan is hoping to create new opportunities through APEC. It has long had relations with Peru, though not official. The two countries each host an economic and cultural office in their capital cities to engage with communities in both countries.
我们长期协助秘鲁的这个非政府组织呢，还有大型的这个媒体集团呢，进行社会辅助的一个工作。从过去3年呢，我们已经有捐助过超过200吨的一个食材，对于秘鲁贫困人民的一个生活上面的辅助，贡献一些台湾来的心力。
The billboards across Lima echo a mantra Taipei has been broadcasting for years: Taiwan can help. It's a message Taiwan's delegation hopes to convey throughout the economic forum, building on existing relations, while looking ahead to the future of Taiwan in Peru and the rest of the global community. Scott Huang, Harel Hughes, and Reese Ayers in Lima, Peru for TaiwanPlus.
Stay tuned all this week for more of our reports coming out of Lima about the APEC summit. A designer from Tainan is putting on a show at a Bangkok gallery, highlighting everyday aspects of Taiwanese culture. Yang Zixing is the 4th-generation director of a textile firm in the southern city that's been in business for a century. But Yang has expanded beyond textiles into other forms of art, including photography. For this exhibit, he's prepared cloth printed with a range of Taiwanese motifs, plus photos and actual examples of the objects that inspired them, some as simple but familiar as the white and blue slippers and red plastic stools found in many Taiwanese homes.
大家其实就算是一个亚洲的生活圈，有一些东西会重叠在一起，所以我觉得蛮好玩的是，有些东西他们真的是有看过，甚至他们也有，有些他们就是没有的。那我觉得就是一个很好玩的过程。
The exhibit runs at Bangkok's Mat Art Center until December 1st. Thank you for watching What's Up Taiwan. Before we go, we take you to a wetland in Cape Town to witness the reintroduction of the Cape water lily to its native habitat. I'm Joyce. Take care and see you next time.